Hi there, and welcome to the Anxiety Society podcast, brought to you by Jordan Devlin and Scott Hope. This is a show where you can listen to people talk about their life experiences in relation to mental health. Visit Jordan's Anxiety Society on Facebook for updates on how you can get involved in future podcasts. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Fucking you boys. We're back, episode 14.
This chair's got worse since we were last fucking year, man.
I've still not got the WD, yeah.
It used to be fucking. It used to just be squeaky, now it's squeaky and wobbly.
It's sad. Get in and it's like.
Aye.
To be fair.
Oh, fuck it.
So what's this? Episode 14. Episode 14. We're joined today by Dean Hepburn, commonly known as Primitive Evolve on Instagram. Absolute cracking content. I'm sure we'll fucking speak lots about it throughout the hour or so we're going to be speaking. But aye, what's happening, lads?
No, the sun's still out, clearly that's what we're hiding in here, three fair-haired boys.
Exactly.
We're not bitching and moaning about it before we started it, but in true Scottish fashion we were bitching and moaning about it.
Aye, nothing's ever perfect, If it's pissing in, you're like, where's the fucking sun, mate? And the sun's out, like, I want to piss in.
Aye. Well, worse for Brazil too, and honestly, see that winter it was snowing in May and that, and she's like, I'm tired of the cold. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do.
What you want me to do?
Yeah, it's snowing, she's like telling her feeling that, and they're like, what? It's telling them it's roasting. Like,
That they get snow in Brazil at all?
No, really not.
No.
Very tropical. I think the lowest it'll get is like 14. Which is borderline
fucking
Scottish
imagine,
summer.
man, aye.
Sheets sticking to you every
Aye.
night in December. Fucking can't think of anything worse. But they'll hear aircon and all that shit there.
Probably no mace for
Maybe no Brazil actually.
Money and stuff, supermarkets and that, but aye, aircon's a luxury.
Aye, fucking
Seeing
right.
it's that hot till you got a fan, it's just fucking hot air.
Just fucking hot air about the room.
When did you move out here?
About 2 years ago.
2 years ago, fucking
I
hell.
was in Dublin before it.
Right.
A lot of Brazilians and that in Dublin and stuff as well, that's where I'd met because it's still EU. It's
Aye.
quite easy to get a visa and stuff
Aye.
you can travel about Europe and whatever else and that.
That's one place I've not been. It's meant to be very pricey though, Dublin.
I mean, they'll do like deals on drinks, so you'll be getting like 2 cocktails for
Aye.
like €10, €12, but like, that's alright, fucking €6 each in the city.
Aye.
And then it finishes, you didn't realise when you got me like 2 cocktails and like €26 and you're like, you're a bastard.
Then is this how you beat that?
It's crazy, yeah. I think they're one of the best paying countries in Europe and that too, so
Aye.
I would like to see that for Scotland too. Maybe not the bevy prices and that,
Aye.
but the wages there were up for
Fuck
it.
me, I was like £9 a cocktail last night. I was saying to him earlier.
Where
Absolute
was it you
joke.
were?
That was down next to the Three Sisters and that. I can't mind the name of the pub.
Aye. Was it maybe it was at the bottom of the hill?
It was like,
Cafe Voltaire.
it was right across
Aye.
from House of Gods. It's
Aye.
like XC something.
Aye.
I didn't care what it was called there.
They're charging £9 a pop.
Aye.
I don't know Edinburgh
It was
that
weird,
well.
like the halves were the same price as the cocktails. That's I was like, be rude not to just get cocktails.
Aye.
So that's what I mean.
2 or 3 nips in it.
Espresso martinis at like midnight last night, so I'm sitting here rattling.
Aye.
Still wide awake.
Aye.
Aye.
It's
Pretty good.
not the worst in the world though, is it? Fucking. I mean, I turned 18 in Norway,
Aye.
and I fucking went for my first legal pint. And I was fucking. That was 90 krona, which was £9.
Aye.
That was like, and it was fucking rotten. It was the worst pint I've ever had in my life.
Decent though.
It was fucking amazing. Like I was starving the whole time, but it was fucking. I couldn't afford to eat, man. It was fucking extortionate. I was there for.
Lidl's was there.
Honestly, mate. They sell beer by the tin because it's so fucking expensive. So you're like
cheaper
like
than
£3 a can.
Aye.
So you actually have to just go up and you get like 4 packs or like the crates just lie open and you just go and pick up like a can and then fucking I'll hate my day for the night.
You couldn't afford the whole
No,
crate when you're
honestly.
in the
That's
bank,
it, folk like Parker who nursed like one can.
Aye.
You got a bottle of eyes.
Aye, fucking. It was.
Canada rounds them. Be there all night.
I don't know. As you say, their standard of living's so fucking good out there.
Aye.
That
Aye, they get paid a lot more.
Aye. I worked up in the airport in Aberdeen and they would actually fly from Norway to Aberdeen for shopping trips for Christmas. It's cheaper to fucking fly here, buy all their stuff and then fly back. Exactly, aye. And fucking fly back. That's how much cheaper it is. Aye. It's fucking crazy, man. Crazy prices, but
Good cost of living is relative to obviously their wages and stuff.
Aye.
It's like
Aye.
Switzerland.
aye.
Whereas obviously you're getting paid significant money, even the most basic of jobs.
Aye, they're getting.
You get a train to Edinburgh, it's like £200.
That's it. Aye. And if fucking.
£6 it was yesterday for a return. I didn't even get on the train in.
Fucking the prices of trains in this country are fucking unbelievable.
I can't believe I still need to pay for it.
I don't know how well they make it. Aye, right enough. Was that do you get a discount?
No.
How do you not get a discount?
It's a joker. Aye. I normally sometimes
normally
sometimes like show like my employee card and Lassie's like, nah. Fuck's sake. I'm like, it's £6. I'll just remember that next time there's a fault or something, I'm not doing it.
Just leave that.
What was that?
Fuck your train delays.
What was the other night? I think it was like £9 to Edinburgh or something like that. And I paid
£9.
And that was like a single or something. That was
How can you scoop up a light for a fiver when you're going to Edinburgh at £9? Yeah, I can't take it to fleet after that. It was like, what's going on?
We got the train from Milan to Venice. Return it was like €15 or something. Like,
that's what I can't grasp with, because the fly was a big thing when you were it was a once a year event. Now you can get it for a fiver, man. You could be flying every other week.
I was actually listening to the last podcast this morning just to kind of get the taste for it, to see where we were the last time. I think it was when the pubs just started opening. I think it was like the start of May or something we done it. So it's also a bit fucking different now.
Aye.
That's what I'm looking for, is nightclubs and stuff opening back.
Aye.
Again,
I just didn't understand how they're not, and you look at like Wembley and that.
Aye.
Same
Well, it's different. I know we're different. Scotland, Finland, that we're running things slightly different. That they supposedly different governments. But it's strange, yeah, even festivals are saying, festivals are going to get knocked back because of the legislation in place and stuff like that. Like, I get it, but if you can go to Parkhead or Ibrox, whatever you're into, and that as well, and sit and watch football, but you can't go to a gig or that, it's strange.
Aye.
Even that though, like you look at like the capacity of places like Parkhead and then the capacity East End, both only allow 2,000 fans. Like, where the fuck is the logic in that?
Aye. Strange, innit? Especially when there was 60,000 at Wembley. It's obviously a slightly different government, but the prerogatives and that didn't seem too much different.
No.
Obviously, the Euros is a big thing, it's a lot of money, maybe the country needs it. Week to week football, are they that desperate for it? Probably no, but it's strange. You're seeing obviously a lot of things going down in that. So you've got Chuck journalists in the jail and that to start slandering MPs. And that's where you start to think of Einstein and Russia.
Exactly.
I need to go fucking wild, I think, right?
That's what I kind of think, like, I didn't sign up for a dictatorship.
Aye.
Like, that's not why I voted SNP, was for them to put fucking laws in place without any, it seems like no discussion.
No. It's just getting passed on the fly, relying on like Instagram politics pages and that to keep you in the loop with it. These sort of unbiased news outlets and that are as unbiased as you could get. Obviously, there's never any unbiased news outlet.
Because you see them passing stuff like under like different acts and different bills that are completely unrelated to the subject, and then they just slip them in when they're
It's just dangerous.
I don't pay attention enough.
Which obviously they've always done,
too
but
much attention, you start you become engrossed in it. You forget that if you're living a pretty average life, it's probably not going to affect you too much. But I also still like journalists and that slander Boris Johnson if they want to get public.
I think it's great, folk getting scalped on the front pages and
brilliant,
just like make a cunt of
it. That's what I was watching last night. It was like top 10 clips of Boris Johnson. I swear by the end that I was ready to vote for him. The overheat throw showed you when he went in the fridge, and it was just this montage of just this absolute idiot.
It was when he done that shocker aid. Who was it? He like rugby tackled.
Rugby tackle.
Boy.
Rugby tackled the wee boy as well. He's done it a couple of times,
some boy, like, how the fuck is he in charge of everything?
I don't know. It's fucking
Christ almighty.
You need somebody in charge that can at least rugby tackle somebody like.
What was that guy say there? Honestly, I'm hopeless at this. Matt Hancock. What a guy.
I actually did feel a wee bit sorry for him towards the end, because he was getting it for all angles for about a month. Just constant fucking barrage. Just getting.
Even if he'd done the right thing.
He was getting fucking. What's that other cunt's name? That Dominic Cummings, man. He's a wee fucking.
The funny thing is we laugh, but it's not the thing is it's not funny. But when it's either you got to laugh or you're going to Greek and win. Because we're the ones that got to grow up in this mess. Your mum and dad and gran and that is like, and they've got a limited amount of years to tolerate these idiots. Whereas we're kind of laughing about it, but it's not funny. But it's like, what do we do?
Exactly.
We've got to laugh at them, man.
It's when he used to get chucked on that Good Morning Britain, and he was just incapable of answering a question. I think it was the school meals or something.
That pay rise one was fucking. Did you see that?
No.
It was when Piers Morgan was still on. It was like, so are you going to take a pay rise? Like, well, we'll have to have a meeting about it. It's like, yes or no? Are you going to take a pay rise? Well, we'll have to have a meeting and we'll decide that. I said, yes or no? Are you willing to take a pay rise? Oh, we'll have a meeting, and then I was like, oh, fucking, just say no for Christ's sake.
Aye, just say fucking right. I'm still living. 500 grand, you're still cutting it anymore.
Aye.
I think it was at the time the NHS weren't getting one as well, so and then the MPs were fucking supposedly getting one, but
We didn't even get a bonus this year, eh?
Aye. There'll be things like that missing. My bird was for Edinburgh Uni, and they're still doing not too bad off it, but look, it's like research funded, and that's imagine research is booming now. Especially the things that's going down now. There'll be a lot of folk want to investigate long-term effects of whatever's going on, and that's when I get torn between as well. As a part of me is a scientist, and another part of me is like a free spirit. Rationality, like fuck knows what the long term of this is. Maybe there's like really bad neurological implications, whatever. And the other part of me is like, fuck it, I've been around it, I've been alright, everybody will be alright. And you forget your granddad and that's frail and that, it could just wipe them off the map.
I know
a lot of folk that's happened to as well, and folk that have been out partying or whatever, then they went back and they stayed with an elderly family member and boom, that's it, didn't Kazi for them, Obviously,
Bucket as well and Julie kick.
Aye. As long as it was a good bender, come on, that's all. Good send off.
Thing is, everybody was like really strict at the beginning, but it's got to the point.
they might as well open everything up because everybody's just doing what the fuck they want anyway.
Especially see you go to Glasgow and that, and obviously the big difference between Edinburgh and Glasgow is when you look at health stats and that, it all ties in with socio-economic stuff is how much money your average Joe's got. People in Glasgow unfortunately didn't have quite as much money as what you'll see in Edinburgh. A lot of snobby bastards in Edinburgh, but I love Edinburgh, I love jumping about there and that. And likewise in Glasgow, as you get a lot of character in Glasgow, as I look in Edinburgh, they didn't say aye, they say yeah. Because they're like, yeah, I'm looking for a horse and cart. Not so much in Glasgow. And you go through Glasgow, it's level 3 and everybody's jumping out with no masks and I'm not getting a fucker, this is bra. This is good.
That's one thing I didn't get to, is like you're driving on the motorway.
You see family of 4 with a mask on.
It's like COVID level 0, plan ahead. Like, plan ahead for what?
Aye, level 0.
What we going into?
Surely level 0 is that. Why is there a level 0 and there's still restrictions? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Aye.
I can't wait for minus
0.5 exactly.
Aye. 0.5 up, so is that not level 1?
Aye.
It's like level 1 but we've renamed it.
It's such a stupid.
Minus 1 will be a
call it.
cracker, like.
Aye.
I can't wait.
How did you find that it started in that day? Because I didn't find I was overly stressed about it. I went through my dissertation that day at the start, so I didn't have time to be giving a fuck about what was going on. It actually kind of helped that everything was on lockdown, so then you kind of wasn't any distraction and everybody was going out and getting steaming and that for the first month.
We've spoken about this a couple of times on here. It was like, it was actually exciting because you didn't care if there was going to be like a zombie apocalypse.
Everybody was going to die.
It was
China.
Aye.
Well, wait a minute, it's here.
And even when it was here, like, I remember being excited when the first lockdown was announced.
Right.
I was like,
I was in the pub,
I was like, this is new, fucking, this is fucking exciting, man. Like, when but that's when I thought it was going to last until like May or something.
Aye.
I thought we would like, and I can remember everybody saying about it. It'll be a week and then fucking, I'll be away by the summer and then we'll just go to Spain. Like, and then we're like,
it was a joke at first time, because you're in a country that buys you no matter what. You could be absolutely hopeless in life, not even be able to fucking push trolleys or anything like that, and you'll still get money. Aye, which is we're lucky in that sense. Other places and that I've seen, I've been like, oh, you're trying to be like, my mate goes out with a Thai wife in that day, and you're seeing over there as nothing slowed down. And still it's just getting worse of that, right? So it obviously serves some purpose, to shut everything down. They've done some, everyone's like, what about the flu, what about the cold? I'd imagine the numbers probably dissipated a wee bit.
Well, I've not had a cold the full time.
Oh, I had COVID, like, but I've never had a cold, like. It's just hay fever recently. I've been fucked with it.
COVID, that is it.
Christ, it's just so annoying more than anything, Like walking about, you can't fucking breathe with your nose streaming, eyes can't touch them without fucking feel like they're going to fall off.
I think it's been really bad. This is the worst year for it. I thought I was done with it for the last couple of years, and then suddenly it's
injections for hay fever, innit? I think you can just get injections for anything.
A double jab or a single jab.
I think it's like 40 quid or something you need to pay for it, but you have to get like I think you need to be on a certain tablet for a certain length of time before you can get the injection. I'm maybe just making this up, but that's what I
the old antihistamine.
Aye, but it's the really fucking powerful one that you need to be taking.
What was it I seen on TikTok or something the other day? sound like Uncle Histamine. I was pissing myself. I didn't get out. It was so simple, but I begged it. I was like, fuck's sake, man. That's tremendous.
Carl Hart's on Rogan, he was talking about the histamines in that there, and they're basically just like super strength opiates, but they managed to remove the whatever it is that would give you the buzz off an opiate. Histamines, and that's why you get drowsy and stuff off them too. It's like likewise opiates make you dead drowsy and that. I was on that Carl Hart was on talking about it. It blew my mind. I was thinking, fucking.
That Carl Hart was fucking brilliant, man. Aye, very good.
I think it's relevant what he talks about.
Aye, definitely.
This is likewise going back to obviously the politicians and that. They're well known that they like to party and that. None of them are very vocal about it because there's obviously a lot of money tied up in drug reform and stuff there. It's kind of how dare you go about addressing stuff like that. It's a hard conversation. It's kind of everybody has a vice in some form. It's just at what point do you fully govern it? Do you get like a card, a card, and then if you get maybe 3 strikes, you get your card taken off you, so you get lifted 3 times. And if it was alcohol, whatever it was you were into, do you get 3 strikes, 1 strike, 2 strikes, and then take your card off you? Obviously, you could still get illegally through somebody who didn't want theirs, but I mean, it's happening anyway. At least then if it was tax regulated as a significant amount of money.
I think it's got to. I think in the next it's good to come. I think it's the next 20 years, so I think it'll be.
Even if it's even longer, if we get to live through it, and that'd be interesting. You see what's happening with psychedelics and stuff like that, with cannabis and that. I know a couple of people that run the medicinal weed in this country too, so they have to pay. But the strange thing is they could get prescription drugs for free, but medical cannabis is all privatised. So every 12 weeks they hate to pay for a reconsultation, which is like 60 quid for half an hour with a doctor. 400 quid I think they pay for a prescription. That's the only thing that works, is like the pain medication.
How long does that fucking prescription? How long is that? Is that for the 12 weeks?
12 weeks. The weird thing
400 quid for fucking 12 weeks, man.
It takes about 3 months to grow to the plant stage, so it's almost like these people are part of the research as well.
Aye, where do they get that then?
That's meant up
the medical folk.
GW Pharma's running it.
Oh, is it?
He's an amazing man, he's the kingpin. But they're ionising the weed and that too, so
it just happens to be a politician. No wonder people get on the tinfoil hat. It's fucking. It's enough to fucking drive you insane, man.
That Brett Weinstein was talking a lot about that with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was basically insinuating he might be a government spy, and then I heard that and I was, Brett Weinstein, I fucking popped.
I very top tier.
No, here comes and he's a Jewish guy too. Here comes the whole anti-Semitic fucking follow the Cabral thing. It's like fucking Jeffrey Epstein's been contacting a synagogue and all that shit, and I was like, trying to digest this. I'm like, too late at night for that kind of patter.
That's engine saying that it's Theresa May's fucking man that's doing that, and then suddenly they've found a fucking market.
The thing is, it's almost
and they're selling it
to fail as well.
Aye.
When you see the weed that they're issuing, and that's shocking. Like you look at it and that, it's really badly done. Some of them have found like spider mites and that in it too. This is like a medicinal grade product allegedly. And obviously the stuff these folk have to source illegally, they're getting better. So they're getting illegal stuff that's done by people who've been doing it for 25 years better than what the government
and probably a fraction of the price as well.
Aye, that's it, and it's like it's almost like it's designed to fail.
Aye.
Yeah, no, you see some of the other stuff, it's like sticks and stems and that coming out these wee GW pharmaceutical pots and stuff. It's almost like it's designed to fail. It's that bad.
I didn't even care what the going rate is for all that.
I'm not much an expert on it, but
the thing is, it's all over like Instagram, messenger apps and that. These things are now flooded. That's like the cat's out the bag with the deep web. The deep web is the original Silk Road and stuff. 2010. It's how do they contain it now? I don't even think they're interested in containing it. And they seized a few, like the Silk Road one. They seized that. They got something like 400 million of Bitcoin and whatever and that. But it's almost like they can't contain it now. There was one. And now it's just kind of spider web for the centre is it's just uncontainable. I mean, I don't doubt there would be police forces that would be acting on these things. But when it's a small section trying to fight the masses, I know. It's like it's probably impossible.
And you would think if people are smart enough to do that sort of thing, you wonder if police forces have got the resources to keep up.
Privacy too, privacy's getting better and better. Apple, that's
fucking massive.
Is not selling your data, so they've got a photo on iPhone that says not selling your data. Because Facebook, you've seen it with Facebook and that, looking at them, and then sort of fucking Facebook went in the huff with Apple. That's a good thing, Karen. Facebook and that, they shouldn't be selling your data.
No.
But now you'll get paid for your data through like Brave browser. It's like an ad blocker browser. And then anytime you click on their sponsored ads, which will pop up for crypto and games and stuff, you push that, they'll give you crypto. And as you're browsing and using their browser, they're giving you crypto on their coins, so it's worth something. whereas before the GDPR thing,
Aye.
you were just getting all your data, you weren't aware of it. Next thing you knew, you're getting tailor-fed ads, buying all the shite under the sun. And now you're actually getting paid for your data when you use certain browsers, certain games and stuff like that.
That's good. That's a good system. That.
Crypto's another strange one, man.
Oh, that's weird. My head, man.
I was my flatmate and us, my flatmate, they're all in on the crypto. Bird's a software developer, so he's got a good grasp for it.
Aye.
My flatmate's then looking to get into that industry as well. So I can't keep up with it. Spent half an hour watching a video on this game called Axie Infinity. And you basically paid in Ethereum for playing it and making potions. It's like Pokemon and Tamagotchi blended together. That's where the illustrations come from. And it's only going to keep levelling up, but there's something like 500,000 folk playing it. But because Ethereum's quite a stable crypto coin, it's expensive for folk in the Philippines and Brazil, Venezuela, stuff like that.
Aye.
So my bird's setting up scholar accounts. So she's got like fucking my mate's laddie's playing it, she's got her nephew playing it, and they're going to be making about 250 quid a fortnight. Just
fucking hell.
Paid in crypto making these potions, and obviously she gets her cut, and it's like a 70-30 split. So it's like you're seeing fucking this online gaming's now paying you several hundreds of pounds a week potentially, and it's helping people. Obviously kids couldn't afford to have the Ethereum to buy in.
Aye.
People in the Philippines and that there, they're struggling, getting living wages probably about £5 a day.
Aye, if you're lucky for.
Getting 30 quid a day, which is a week's wage. So if you're getting a week's wage a day through these scholar accounts, that's why the game's set them up as. They're calling it, you could have almost like 10 accounts on the one thing, but you can't play on the same IP address.
Right.
So the three of us, we couldn't play in this house, but if we stayed in each of these houses with different routers, three of us could play. And we could all have 10 scholars who could be in like less economically developed countries getting paid.
Is there no companies that have like rerouting IP addresses anyway?
Oh, aye, they'll be fucked up for
fucking.
Aye. They'll be running, so we could essentially run on.
I think one's actually sponsoring Joe Rogan's podcast. That annoyingly I had to listen to it because I couldn't. My fucking card does my tits in.
And you can connect to all different ones around the world.
Aye, so it
just
just.
a country and whatever else. And then just mash your IP
Aye,
address.
it's a good way to get like
just
American
so
Netflix and that. Aye, it's the way to do it, man.
It's like a little passenger sitting there. You just say, aye, fuck, definitely that, aye. Just agreeing with it.
But it's confusing, this crypto thing.
Aye.
Because
Even what you're saying, making potions, you get, but where's the fucking money coming from?
I know.
Selling data.
It's these Pokemon things, or Tamagotchis, whatever they are.
Wonder why we're going dafty.
Pokemagotchis.
Pokemagotchis, aye.
They're Axies, is what they're called about. The Pokemagotchis.
This is not, man.
You go into battles, and when you win your battles, you get potions, and you can make potions. And I'm sitting watching this, and I'm thinking, well, where's the money coming from? How the fuck are
I'll just stick to
making
Harry
so
Potter.
much money off this?
It's only potions I'll be watching. Fuck me.
Mental though.
Aye.
The times are changing. We're going to live through it, which is it's
That's weird.
It's exciting, but it's very scary.
Aye.
It's also hard to keep up because I'm thinking, fuck man, what happened to the PlayStation 1? Because I remember PlayStation 1 DualShock analog controllers. You've got the Oculus, your whole weeds in it. And they're now talking about like virtual meetings and that too. As I'm like, fuck man, I'm like, this is reality. I quite like this.
Aye.
I didn't mind the Oculus headset and stuff too, but I'm thinking, fuck, that's going to fuck folk up. Like, phones fuck people up, because it's no reality, but you can get so consumed in your phone as it starts to become your reality.
Aye.
Even just holding it, there's a comfort to holding it and stuff.
Aye.
And I'm wondering what happens with the virtual world. That's what this
Virtual reality, even that, I was like, that's too far. I was like, you need to calm down a bit.
Because it will get better and better to a point where it'll be hard to decipher what is real and what isn't. I think that's inevitable. I don't think that's even
I'll not be here when that happens, like, fuck that.
Aye.
I'll be off.
I'll be moving to the woods if that's it.
It's like Ready Player One.
Aye,
That's
aye,
the kind
exactly.
of I already built that as with some of these crypto networks and that are going to be the main host for these multiverses. So you wouldn't need guests to come in and be here, as you could be sitting bomb headsets.
It's like Spy Kids,
Spy Kids, aye, back in the day,
like
man.
That. Like Ken, no the first one, but the second and third one, Ken, how they get sent into these suits and that, and they're fucking going about this mental, man.
Sort of clip-in, there's like the clip-in treadmill type things you get for the VR now too, so you can clip yourself, it's circular, and the floor's circular.
Aye, and it's just moving.
Aye.
Oh,
That's
fuck
awesome,
me.
man. You're going to have like a dedicated VR room, it's going to be like padded, hopefully it doesn't look for the outside, but then you've got to run and jump off the walls and stuff, it'll be See for tactical training and that.
Aye, very good. Aye.
Like that. Obviously you'll be training up the gyms
Aye,
for
but
ages.
you just think what is the have we not got enough entertainment?
I know.
Like,
Aye.
do we need to be, because this is only going to go bad. Like, I don't think there's any upsides to this.
Okay, some folk are spending 8 hours a day on their phone.
Aye.
As these kids will be sitting just living in the matrix.
It genuinely is just making money. Even the people that are designing this must know that it's no good for human health to
I think it's
be
obviously
involved in
help
this.
for maybe meetings, Ken, where you could walk in and feel maybe it helps with social barriers and that, but it's got to consume people. I think.
Well, aye.
I think what I think is it'll further polarise people. And you've got to have folk that are going to let live off the land and no be part of the multiverse and that. You've got to have folk that are like, fuck it, plug me in. Plug me into the wall.
I'll never get plugged in.
I'll never get fucking. But you say that, and then they starts getting vaccines not to get left behind.
Aye, because you've got to go on holiday.
Aye, and
you can't go on holiday.
You go, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not getting a vaccine.
I'll get
you
like
can't
a-
go to Spain. Fucking vaccine, mate. Give me a vaccine.
What's that? I can't go to Palmanova.
Aye, fucking
Get that in my ear.
one in each arm.
Aye. What's your plans and that when you can travel and stuff like that?
I'd love to go back to. No,
Two stag
that's two stars. Well, I've got one.
Dude, I've got two. Fuck me, man. I'm having a shocker. I'm still warming up here.
Aye, one booked in July, but I think it's surely.
Nah, it's not that one I'm talking about, is it? So,
Was that not in July?
September, I think.
Was it?
It's closing parties, aye.
Oh fuck, I don't know.
He's gone over to Ibiza for closing parties and stuff there.
Aye.
Is it this September?
Dreading it. Shite myself.
You ever been to Ibiza?
Twice.
Have you?
So scary.
Aye. I've never been to Ibiza. I love clubbing and that, but I've never been to Ibiza. I've been to Amsterdam hundreds of times, Berlin, Barcelona as well, but I've never been to Ibiza.
Aye.
It looks dead the
it's a different world,
people
isn't
that are there. It's a weird kind of day, like they're the only folk there.
Aye.
And they went to Ibiza buzzing, then I see it, I'm like, fucking hell.
Because it went to Amber again, eh? They need to stop fucking about with that, eh? Honestly, see if I was out there and it went to Amber and I had to do all this pissing about to get home to my bed, I'd be fuming.
Is
you need to get-
back in?
It's went back to Amber, eh?
So that means obviously when you come back you quarantine.
Aye, and you need to do all these different tests, like on day 8 and day 10, I saw all this, I was like,
Aye.
and it's just a money maker, I think it's just a joke, eh?
Aye. I've heard the people coming back as well, and somebody nipped to Tesco with their phone and getting a phone call when they've been in Tesco and that, didn't even like,
Oft.
why's your phone at this? And we're like,
That's weird, eh?
it's no, that's illegal, that's a big breach of data protection.
Oh, where is my tinfoil hat, man? Oh, Jesus.
Scary,
That is terrifying.
That's how things like that, I'm thinking, surely they've downloaded like track and trace app or something. Surely
Aye, they
were
must
not
have.
Fucking
I'd never downloaded that for the start.
Aye.
I didn't.
Like, giving you a ping when you
Aye.
be next.
I could really be doing without any pings. I've already had fucking 2 fucking isolation periods. I'm no wanting.
It's tough,
Aye.
You don't want to be that kind of jumping about and isolating that day if you can. You
Aye.
can feel around folk in that day, but there's also the wee menace inside you.
I just like fuck.
Oh, I could step out the front door here.
Especially
What is it fine? Is it not like 5-10 grand or something?
Aye, it's a lot anyway.
And good luck trying to get that out.
Aye.
Fucking hell.
Ah, again. Fuck me.
Catch me in 20 years, big man.
You sell my motor.
Aye. You selling my body.
But the court system will be fucking overrun with that. Like they're ever going to chase up these £30 fucking.
Stuff like that.
No chance.
Aye.
Fucking
Courts and that back on, I still didn't.
No, I think they are.
I know
Aye.
my mate, he got his citizenship and he had to wear the gown and all that. He was South
Aye.
African and he was got British citizenship and he had to sing God Save the Queen.
I didn't realise there was an exam for that.
They were asking him stuff like,
Who's the Prime
what's
Minister?
a butty? And what is a joiner and that. That was his entry test, is what is a joiner.
It's fucking mad. I didn't realise we did. I thought that was only America that did something like that.
Oh, I didn't realise that until I spoke to him and he had the gown on and they said
Aye.
the guy who was meant to be doing it wasn't there, so they just rolled in a photo of him on wheels. And then somebody said whatever he needed to, it's a pre-recorded video or something.
And half the folk here would probably fail it.
They fucking would.
That's what I'm asking him, what's a chipper? What do they call it? What's a nickname for a joiner, or what's a nickname for a carpenter or something? It's a chippy or a joiner.
Fucking hell.
I know.
You wouldn't catch me saying God Save the Queen anyway. You got the flight straight here.
I went to the Scouts once and they made you do that, and that was the last time I went. Fucking hand up swearing on the Queen and that. Fuck this shit. 9-10-year-old, this isn't for me.
But aye, fucking back to the whole fucking mental
I know.
health
I
aspect.
could do this all fucking day, man. Aye.
Unbelievable. 29 minutes worth of just facts.
Just
Aye.
nonsense.
Aye.
I'm sick of hearing that and all. Facts. Remember facts. Fuck's sake. No, it's just never ending. But you can understand why folk are going after rails, mentally.
One thing I see was a lot of folks' communication. That's something I've really had to work on, especially because I knew I needed to work with people and just quite an introvert and that. I never made much of an effort to do it until I needed to. So then I started to have to read about how to be a better communicator and why great leaders are great communicators and stuff. So it's obviously I pay attention to it. Some folk are captivating and are really good communicators. And that was one thing I seen go out the window when folk had been that disbanded for each other. When they were reintroduced to each other, as when you would get near somebody, it was like magnetically like repelled.
You would.
I was like, oh, you've got. It's like keep away from it.
It's strange,
Even like my mum and that, it's fucking are tough as all boots and that day, but again, they wake up, they watch the news, and whereas we wake up fucking YouTube on what's on, like, there's a tunes bomb, that's it. Joe Rogan, something like something a wee bit crazy or whatever. Whereas they, man, it's a done thing, maybe buy a paper, read the news. It seems like it's not like again a whole tinfoil hang, is it? But it conditions you. It's a sort of misery. It says there's not much good news that you're reading about.
It's doing my tits in now. I'm sick of it.
You have to be consistent.
Although I didn't like it when folk are too happy, but that does my tits in.
Good try.
That's what I mean. There's no pleasing us.
What
about your mums and all? They've been alright on that too? Your grands, anything like any family members and all?
My mum and dad, they're fucking. I had to leave the house as soon as like lockdown started to go to work and that because they were both high risk category. Like my mum, she's got a certain type of leukemia, and my dad, he's just no long went through like what's it, radiologist? Not radio, what am I talking about? Chemotherapy.
So you get radio's like where they're sort of blasting it with like ionizing radiation in, and the chemotherapy is made like almost like a chemical radiation.
It was that one, the radiation and that. So I had to leave the house and they were shielding that. So but they're alright. They're both double dosed and that. But you see that.
My granddad and that who had cancer and that, and that's why I wanted to get vaccinated. And I seen my mum Sunday, because she's obviously had hers day, and I was telling her, I'm getting mine, whatever else. She's like, you need to watch when you're around your granddad. I goes, fucking so do you. You can still carry it, like, because you might can, just because you've been double vaccinated, doesn't mean you're not holding it and passing it to them, man. That's why it's got to cause this polarisation, because I'm not got it.
Did you watch that GRE, the one about that ivermectin?
Aye.
Fucking again with the tinfoil hat, man. That's terrifying how that's not getting. That's terrifying how that's not been.
I know he was saying that they also don't know the long-term effects and stuff for that day. And my bird says she thought people in Brazil had died for that ivermectin, because that's when you see folk that I thought it was malnourishment. You see that maybe African bears, like kids in the Amazon, that the guts swollen up. I thought it was malnourishment. That's what it is.
Is that ivermectin? Is it?
Gut-borne parasite. Ivermectin stops it.
So
it stops them from getting these big swollen bellies where their gut bacteria and that's all sorts of fucked up. That's what the clinical use is meant to be for.
Antiviral.
She said she thought folk had died of that, but maybe it was something else, because Brett Weinstein, he was saying even at high doses.
They seem to be very. And it's been tested since the 60s, and there's never really been any adverse effects yet.
Again, when they say that, they can tinfoil hat it, but they say that as it getting published in the research, because my flatmate was winching a bird for Gambia. She was at a research institute in Gambia, and it was it was funded with the Gates Foundation and stuff, although obviously Bill Gates doesn't carry out research, there's a lot of funding there. And a child had died in one of the studies, and they read out the data set, and he won a prize in that for it, and that's why she left. She left to then come here, work in the NHS, and she didn't really like how the NHS operated. They was celebrating lockdown, so the surgeons and that were like, fucking you're telling me to fucking cut somebody's leg off and that, and fuck them kind of thing. And she would start greeting her, she ended up depressed and everything for being here because nobody wanted to work. And these guys are getting their pockets well lined up. It's hard because I'm like, fuck it, pay the healthcare workers, pay the frontline workers and whatever like that, and then you find out cutting legs off.
There's always going to be.
I worked at Five Council and that briefly and that, and it made me a lazy bastard. Not until now I work for myself, I'll have to work Sundays, Saturdays, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because there's no compromise. And I had to then learn that. Same likewise going through university and that, I need to stick in here. Just because this is free doesn't mean I'm here to fuck about.
So what is it you actually do day to day?
Work with athletes, primarily work with athletes. Work with exercise and stuff as well, and obviously coach at Goliath, grappling for MMA. Got a lot of young fighters under me, guys that are on Cage Warriors, guys that be fighting on Fight Pass for Lions fight and stuff too. And launching a cold brew coffee business with my mate as well, Braw Brew. So that's due to launch maybe in about 2 weeks.
Decent, I'm a sucker for a coffee too.
See, cold brew coffee, honestly, it's potent. think I've had maybe 3 today. Made sure I had an arm for 2 before my PT.
Well, me, I'd be rattling it. I can't think anything worse than a coffee than you, like.
So you could put it on a series like the espresso martinis and that, that's what some hotel chains and that we've contacted, like Royal Scotsman and that, a guy that owns that and that's interested in meeting us and stuff, so
decent
point, man. Waverley in it as a Royal Scotsman, like fucking, I mind seeing it as a Hepburn and that. If you would like a bottle per room for the minibar or something like that, could do quite well. It could be an absolute disaster as well, which is always a potential.
What, is it just iced coffee,
So instead of hot brewing it with boiling water, you just brew it with cold water straight for the get-go, chuck it in the fridge for 20 hours or whatever, then press the coffee grounds, pour out your cold coffee, put ice on it or whatever, and drink it as a cold drink, or heat it up like that as well. But when you take out the beans and it's already cold brewed, you didn't get as much acidity. So if you drink too much coffee now, you get like acid reflux and that. So basically, almost cancels that out. You taste the coffee a little bit more as well, good coffee.
I'll be excited to try it.
I'll swear, it's a shame I've not got t-shirts and stuff. I was going to bring these t-shirts down and that. So there's room for another one further down the line as we'll bring
there definitely will be, mate. 100% will be.
Definitely. We'll be sitting here with our wee mugs filled with, what is it, Brawbrew? Tremendous.
Magic, man.
It's going to be interesting for foreigners and that to get to grasp with what Braw is. Because a very five-headed man.
Saying that, for what you've said already, you've got a very cultural household, all these different nations coming together.
I know, but it's been good fun dating somebody for another background in that too, because no matter what you've been through and seen and done here and that, you can sometimes think, I've had a shit compared to X, Y and Z, and then you meet somebody else and you're like, right,
go fuck off.
No matter what you've been and seen and done in that, as somebody will trump you and humble you a wee bit with stuff like that.
I always try and kind of watch that a wee bit about what I'm moaning about, because you do, I think you find that pretty quickly.
And then it's too hot, it's a small thing to be worried about.
And it's very, like when you tell people, like, I never volunteer the information really, but if somebody asks me like what my upbringing was like and things like that, and I say it, and they go, oh, that's a shame, and I was like, well, I was happy the whole time. I was fine. I'm fine now. I was fine then. Like there wasn't any problems. And then people who had maybe like 2 parents and things like that would maybe see it as like I had a tough upbringing, but I didn't. I was fine the whole time. Like there's people that have proper tough upbringings. Proper tough.
2 parents or 1 parent with no parents and
stuff. No parents and drugs, no parents and fucking all sort of things.
Come from a very wealthy family and yet you're in childcare maybe till 10 o'clock every night and that.
Exactly.
It's not a great upbringing, even if your mum and dad's driving a Ferrari and a Lambo. Exactly. And then you could get folk with absolutely nothing but mum and dad's there, or just a mama and they do a good job.
The thing is, you shouldn't compare yourself, but you do it constant.
I think it's quite
constantly comparing yourself.
See, you can do a family, I need to address my behaviours and that. I think that's something, especially in like early 20s and that too, is you get captivated in that as why am I no X, why have I not got this many likes, why is he
Instagram's the worst for it, especially being a lassie, like that I was. But you get more and more of these
poses as well.
Doing these poses now, where you can see the bit of, I don't know, hip fat or something like that, like just relaxed poses and that, and they're posting it, and it's good to see.
Yeah, and like looking at normal, which is good. There's fitness industry and that doesn't help neither. You see, fitness coaches and that thing are absolutely juiced to the ground. Muscle fibre shredded. You never look like that. Not even fighters when they win look like that sometimes. But that's every poster putting up it, and it's just a backlog for when they look good. When they went Tonto when they look good. They don't look like that right now, but they're not showing you that. They're trying to sell you something, aren't they?
I think I'd get sick of looking great all the time.
It's not. I don't think it is sustainable. See if you can.
Your hormones crash. You're too lean.
It's the whole like healthy, happy thing. Just don't worry about it too much. Just fucking. And it's easier said than it is easier said than done. Because even I fucking.
Every morning
I look at myself like, look at the fucking neck of you.
4 abs. Look at sexy bastard. And you eat a calzone, you wake up next day like, you fat bastard. The abs are disappearing.
I was sitting eating something last night. I'm fucking sour squishy daft, man. Honestly, I'm going to fucking turn into a sour squishy, and I finished them, and I fucking just moved on the couch, and I felt a wee roll pop out in my fucking trousers, and I was like, you bastard.
These are for breakfast only.
I felt myself bloat straight away. I was like, fuck.
Can't you just eat one squishy? Two packets are for girls. Share bags are adults.
Just melt them, right fucking through.
Brilliant, man.
Delicious. So what was it that made you boys start this podcast and that? I was listening to the first episodes and stuff yesterday too. I was listening to a wee bit of background and that, a few guys bouncing off each other and stuff.
I don't know, I think it was just needed to be done. Like there was a lot of stories kicking about folk struggling and that. You'd see posts constant on Twitter and that of folk maybe taking their life, trying to take their lives. And then when you go out and about, you hear more stories of folk struggling and that, so it was like trying to give folk a platform to say like it's actually alright to speak about all this shit.
Just like addressing it, being upfront about it and getting yourselves out there too. You have to put yourself on the line a wee bit.
That's the fucking toughest bit, I think. Like
it's hard to let down all barriers and just like fuck, this is what happened to me, laugh if you're gonna laugh kind of thing. And
I think we probably judge ourselves more than what other people like. I'll listen to one back and I'll listen to myself and I was like, why did you say that? Or why did... And somebody listening to it probably didn't even pick up that it was a bad thing to say, and I think you're quite... I'm particularly quite hard on myself.
And obviously if it's somebody you're unfamiliar with, it's like you're quick to reply, or quick to respond and keep the kind of flow of conversation going as well.
Especially when we go out and about and that, like folk obviously speak about, I've seen what you're doing in the podcast, that's great, and I think they're obviously under the impression that means our mental health's great, whereas mine's fucking recently has been terrible, If folk think because you're doing an anxiety society podcast and that, you must be the greatest mental health ever, I'm like, it's a fucking polar opposite, but it doesn't stop me from listening to folk stories, because I kind of find it as a coping mechanism. Just that, I say that's bad. That's like somebody feels as shit as me. I love that. Same when you're hungover. See when you see something a worse night than you, it instantly makes you feel better. I say it 100 times. Like somebody stumbles down the stairs at the hotel and you're just like, he's had a bad night. Like he's tremendous now. I think it might just make again. That's it. The comparison side. You're always comparing yourself.
It's hard not to self-sabotage as well. Like, you can be that critical on yourself, but if somebody else spoke to you the way you did to yourself, sometimes you would fucking scalp them.
You would,
you would that fill a lamp them, yet you'll let yourself do it. And some people live their life that way. It's constantly in their own ear, and it's good to strive for better, to improve. But
it's tough when you're giving yourself a hard time, man. It's hard because you don't listen to what other people say about you, because all you can hear is yourself calling yourself fucking.
The things they're saying are just doing it to soften the blow. You're absolutely shite, and they're like, you're amazing, you're like, fucking rotten. Later you'd see it at that moment again, you'd be like, okay, I've done really well then. But again, at that time you just belittled yourself in. Like you say, nobody would do that to you, hopefully. It's interesting,
because there's no way to soften that. You could say to somebody that's gone through that, like oh, you're fine, like don't worry about it, it's fine, and then but that person in the head is saying exactly what you're saying, like they're just saying that to fucking but then you feel like going, not really, it's like you're fine, don't worry about it. But
it's hard that you see from the fighters and that time, guys that have knocked guys out cold and they've been raging with themselves after it. What you're raging with is because they hit me with 1-2 shots in the first round or whatever, and you're thinking, yeah, killed that man. Migrate yourself with it. Interesting, even at the sort of highest levels and stuff, and no matter how much bravado that somebody has, we all do it. It's like when fighters that say that I'm not nervous, it's just their understanding and nervousness is probably better. Like everybody feels these sensations.
How can you not be nervous to step into a cage with a man that potentially wants to kill you?
The worst outcome is death. The worst ultimate outcome is death. The best outcome is you come out with your hand raised very fast, unscathed. But worst outcome is you could die. You could die a week later, kind of bleeding on the brain and stuff. There has to be some sort of response to that. If you're a non-responder, then you're like kind of like that Alex Honnold, the free solo guy. He's just seems to be a non-responder. They're showing him decapitated fucking animals and that, and they just like nothing. I think that's what makes him so good. Is he says he's a non-responder, like I think David Blaine or something similar.
Similar.
Their eyes didn't respond the same to fear and stuff in their brain too.
David Blaine, is that the boy that's
magician?
I watched his podcast, it's nuts.
Maybe the Jerry one. Putting knives in that. That's not magic. That's just mental.
He's after seed. He needs a seed check, to be fair. So you can't say something like that, that's good. What about yourself, Dean? Like childhood wise, what was your upbringing like? What were you like, Ellie?
I was raised with my mum until I was about 8. My dad was alive till I was about 4, and he died of a heroin overdose. I was the only one in the house. My mum was split up, but at this point in that time, my mum was a wee bit better raised. Dad obviously had some issues and that. I think he started with buzzing glue and that ended up on the harder stuff. And clearly must have needed a fix when he was in charge of me one night. So like only childhood memories is like seeing him going out in a body bag, stuff like that. Quite graphic, quite vivid.
Sick.
But again, I'm kind of glad that because I had another mate whose dad was a heroin addict and he died when my mate must have been about 33. So my mate had another 29 years of that. Came up and just that. I see myself in comparison to him again. To compare yourself. As for years I always felt like a bit of a victim for that. I was like, fucking man, he's got a nice mum and dad, they got this, they got that, blah blah blah. And then I got to work with somebody who was a recovering heroin addict. It was his first job, been in and out of his jail all his life, and the doctors put him back on Zomorph, so they redlined on the codeine up to the max, those stopped working, and then they put him back on morphine, and obviously morphine's a pharmaceutical grade heroin. And then one time the boy asked me for 20 quid. And I never seen him again, disappeared there, and that's what it was, he'd ran out of his morphine, his bones and that started to ache, and then it was obviously fixed. I never seen him again, so even that, I was in my mid-20s, that was a nice perspective for me to get to see what it was like for somebody who was an addict, recovering addict, whatever. Definitely still an addict, it's just the prescription drugs was filling the void. So again, wee things like that as I went through my life, and that helped. And then obviously meeting people from Brazil and Colombia and just all of Venezuela and all these countries where I thought I'd had a pretty turbulent upbringing and that. Even my mum done a really good job. But obviously that lingering thing of my dad is it catches you when your brain's barely developed, as I think it's under 7 or 8 or something, there's a huge development in the brain. And something
that elasticity sort of
trauma in that period has a significant effect. And obviously even still to this day it does a lot. But I'd say I'm at peace with it, having gained a lot of life experience, reaching 30 and whatnot. But it was hard as a bear because folk would be asking, where's your mum, where's your mum? My mum would tell me not to say to folk because then they would think she was a junkie. I didn't want that associated with her. But fucking loose lips as a bear, and you can't keep your mouth shut. And obviously became a bit of a focal point for bullying and stuff like that too. Fast forward to now, involved in mixed martial arts and Thai boxing, that's kind of done me good. But like I said, it was a really crazy experience, and obviously that's the only memory I've got. But at the same time, years ago, and that would upset me and stuff. I feel like using psychedelics and stuff like that has been massive, and sort of coming to understanding a lot of these things. And when I speak to it last week, becoming emotionally attached to it, and not letting it define you. That was the thing as well. I used to feel like it defined me a lot until I got all these broader perspectives. Whereas with now, as much as it still pisses me off a wee bit or it upsets me, as it doesn't define me, I didn't use it, but I'm a hard-faced, I'm a miserable cunt because of that. But I then grew up in the schemes and that in Edinburgh and stuff too. It's just
is that what you're fair across the pond there?
In like Royston, Granton, then moved to Dalgety Bay for Musselburgh when we were like 12, so went for like...
That's all changed.
Went to that, to then Dalgety Bay, and you're supposedly around these hard cunts in Dalgety Bay, and you've come for the scheme, and you see what Dalgety Bay was presenting as a hard night. That's not hard.
It's got a school bag that's still intact.
Then started thinking about it in Inverkeven, right, again.
There we go.
Back to what's now gone.
Can't beat it.
Strazav buying single fags for shads and a box of matches in that early high school and getting into underage drinking and whatever. But come on, I'm grateful to have experienced something like that as a youth. And if I ever have kids in that day, it's the last thing I would ever like them to be exposed to, but also get character. Even if it comes from fortunate circumstances.
So do you think as you say about the psychedelic experiences, do you think that helped you, like during the experiences, did you help you separate between...
I think so, it just seemed to make me a lot more empathetic, and instead of being bitter, I was done a disservice by primary caregiver and by the universe. I use that loosely, as I feel like I was almost done a disservice, even though my stepdad and that fantastic stepdad and stuff. Again, a dad's a dad, stepdad will always be a stepdad, even though they could raise you far better than a potential dad. But it seemed to give me a lot more emotional intelligence, and the ability to see it, be able to cry. It's like men and that, I see folk bury their wives and that, and they didn't cry. 8-year-old men, and I'm like, fuck, I'm greeting for you. And it's like, you were like that before, you got funerals and that, very cold-hearted, very shut off. I would say it's even still something I'm working towards like a psychologist as well. But it's just need to work up the balls. I keep using the money as an excuse. The money's not really an excuse. If you can afford to fly abroad, you can afford to preserve your mental health. Working with psychologists and stuff. But it's just taking that wee step into that is just being like, right, fuck it, let's surrender everything to somebody. And obviously you'd be paying them for their services unless you went through the NHS.
So do you think that was something that would, because to me you seem quite level-headed, and like, do you think that would be something that would massively benefit you, or is it just more of an experiment sort of to see what you would get out of it?
Because in my head, my bravado and my ego is saying that, but you studied psychology for 4 years when you were going through your sports science degree, and that it's basically clinical psychology applied to a sports setting, so you could take away a lot from it for your personal life and then obviously competing. But again, I'm not a psychologist, and that's one thing. Whenever I post videos with psychology, I make it very clear, because it's illegal for me to say, you should do this, you should journal, you should goal set, you should do self-affirmations. But I'll say these might be handy for people, but that's why it's good to go see a professional, because me saying you should goal set, you should journal, maybe that'd be terrible for you, maybe that'd make your mental health worse. But because it works for me, I'm advocating it. I'm not a professional. That's the one thing I see. I know a lot of people who work with psychologists and they get fantastic results. But the flip side of here is some people feel worse through it as well. I like to think when it does come to the time of doing it, it's going to be a nice tool, even if it's short-lived, if it's a long-term thing. But I also feel like it should be a first line of defence instead of like fluoxetine and stuff like that. Like we were speaking about prior, that's SSRIs is, when I speak to my girlfriend, and you would think a country like Brazil, you would think their health service would be shocking, but for some reason their health service is absolutely shit hot. Like, you damage your knee, then you could go in and sit and wait till somebody can see you and MRI you, whereas in this country you're looking at 18 months for an MRI, which is crazy. You think a country like Brazil, 230 million people, high volumes of poverty and stuff like that, and massive gaps in inequality, you would like to think that they would be waiting 18 months for an MRI, but somehow their health service is banging, quick to get you psychologists over antidepressants and stuff like that. And that's obviously, I'd heard you guys talking about that on one of the first episodes.
I'm still waiting.
Because I mind you were saying at that point it was 3 months.
Still waiting.
So what? How long is that now in terms of months?
Oh, fuck me. When was that?
When did we start this? Were you waiting 3 months at the start? So that must be about 10 months.
It's just about a year.
So almost a year. The potential of that is kind of the worst case scenario, likewise with a fight, is this is the potential is death. And I know people who are on SSRIs and they just get their dose doubled, and next thing they're suicidal because the dose has been doubled. The side effects of these drugs is suicidal tendencies. So you're already in a vulnerable position, and it seems to be making it worse for some people.
What about yourself? So obviously when you were growing up you were talking about bullies and that, and obviously the experience you went through. Did you have to see anybody about your mental health at that point in time?
Surprisingly, not something I've managed to deal with not too bad. And again, I was an only child too, so there was never any siblings. I have a stepbrother and a stepsister who got on with well, but they never stayed with me and my mum and my stepdad. But I just never seemed to fit in. Didn't know bad at like sporting things and that I would fit in that day, but especially moving into Dalgety Bay, coming from council housing estates too, something that's
especially at the age you did it as well.
You were like P7 about to go into high school. I'm actually kind of glad that the high school was a few months later, because I meet obviously the boys from Brookhaven and stuff. But it's funny, it's only actually in recent years I've realised that it's something I probably should have done a long time ago. But again, I attribute probably about 80-90% of that to going on a degree and then having to study psychology, where you're starting to learn about your fight and flight response. And you see, even when you're going to argue with somebody, as the chimp kicks in, the ego kicks in, and you want to argue, whereas you might be better just stepping back, sort of using that conscious brain to assess the situation. But as a child and that, it's strange. I think my mum must have done a cracker of a job too. I'm not attribute that much to university and stuff too, because there's a long period in between that. But I think my mum done a good job of being like a dad and a mum, like smacking my arse if I was bad, and up until the point I was taller than her, because she's like 5'1". But I think she's done a good job of disciplining me and stuff too. If I go batter, you'd be like, right, send back out, you've got to batter him. And you're going back out the old school.
You're not allowed to do that anyway, which I didn't agree with. But I'm not saying kids should get battered, but
we smacked arse, never done me in the arm.
I used to fucking hate it. I was a wee bastard when I was wee. Still am. But you need it, it's discipline, because you get all these folk going about thinking he can get away with murder these days, and it just does my tits in it.
You see as well, some folk can overfeed their kid with positive encouragement and that day, and their brains are being a wee bastard. There's too much positive reinforcement, and you end up with like very narcissistic kids and that as well.
Tablets, like iPads and that, it's nuts. Like if you can eat your dinner, I'll give you the tablet. It's like what? I'll be able to play Kirby or something.
I think it is quite.
My mum used to send me to that. I was only a child, moved a wee bit and be sending me. I played rugby and never came back to play football. I haven't gone out with a rugby ball, man. Like, I'm not bad enough that I'm fucking ginger and I'm only a child in a foreign land. Oh no, you're going out to rugby taster.
I think it's just, it appears lazy getting the bit on the iPad, but I've not got a child myself, so I didn't want to I didn't want to slate for doing it, because in that position when you've got a fucking
it's a must, like it's the only thing that works. My niece,
it's like fuck, take the iPad and shut up, just
and it's strange because they're watching bairns play with toys. Like that's what she does, she sits and watches a video, and these bairns are playing with, I'm like, why do you not just play with toys?
Oh, the world's going to end, man. It's fucking, the world's going to end.
I'm sitting there thinking I sat there and I thought, what the fuck is happening here?
We need to get her on this Axie Infinity, my bird will get her on some
At least if you're going to piss about make money out of it.
But it's mad, that's the thing is that, like when we were talking about that game, I can't get my head around it, but someday your niece and that's probably going to love it. And Angie can earn money doing it, and like it's strange, because fuck man, I remember like Sega, PS1, PS2, Xbox 360 and that. And to be fair, you'd be content with your pal sitting playing FIFA or whatever all day and stuff like that. So I guess the new wave is that full immersion, is like your whole field of vision and that is.
The thing is, you were never in the house, yeah, but I was out. As soon as the street lights come on.
Setting fires, like.
Setting fires. Setting fire to everything.
Windbush, you got Windbush along the coastal path and that, you'd be setting that fire on your school lunchtime and that. Shad's banned me for buying lighters. 5 quid paper money you'd be in there, but I want 5 lighters. You got 5 lighters last week, like, where's the 5 lighters? But they're gone. They're long gone, like 3 of them got genied. 1 got Celt and the other one I've still got.
Absolute arsonist, I love that. What did you do when you were wee? I just love setting fires, fucking tremendous. That's one thing I've never done is I've been set fires.
I was never done much.
You used to go wild with that.
You'd be smuggling them back for Turkey. My mum and I get para with the PB gun coming back. They stopped at the airport.
You used to get them at Inverkeithing Highland Games and that. Did they? Aye, Inverkeithing Highland Games. And they were all black too. It's illegal to have them all black too now.
Aye, need a different colour.
Two-tone or something.
Very futuristic. I think that's a good thing as well, as it takes the obsession away, because some of the guns you used to get when you were wee and that were like replicas, they were metal and fucking submachine guns.
What was I talking about the other day? Mind the fucking chocolate cigarettes you used to get?
Aye.
How did they ever get away with that? You would.
Aye. The white ones.
It wasn't even that long ago.
There was the ones with the paper around them in the
No, they were actually like in a cigarette packet.
It was like the old jail packets that folk would roll into that.
It's not just to be, I don't even know what they were, the wee white things. These are actual bits of chocolate with paper around it that made it look like a
foil packet.
See, looking back, man, I was like,
yeah, it was owned by Marlboro or something. It's like mid-money camp. It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, was it done?
How much, it's weird how much it's changed in that, even just since, what was that, maybe 15 years ago or something like that. Like how much,
sweeties, toys.
How that's completely unacceptable now. And to even think about doing that is fucking ridiculous.
Very intricate. That's crazy. As these things that were good to go, as it's just you're seeing it changing and changing. It's like with talc powder and that too. They're saying talc's a carcinogen and that too. I'm like, how the fuck? We're allowed to make talc carcinogen. Like, you're not been born along. There we go. Some of the powder on you will set you up for your 30s when you pick up a ching hat. That's something you will probably be very
it's an absolute joke.
Like, obviously I'm very open in that. I enjoy psychedelics. I like to get high on weed and that, but cocaine and that is horrible drug across the world. Like, from where it's made to where it is, it's just, and I don't know a lot of folk like it. That's a vice. They can hold down a job, they can go week to week or once a month and they enjoy it, and that should very much be able to as an adult. But it's just doesn't seem to bring anything but bad things. I
don't think Wolf of Wall Street the film helped. I think a lot of folk idolised it.
It make it cool.
Fucking amazing.
Even pop culture in general makes it cool.
It's
a high society thing as well, isn't it? That's why they call it ching, isn't it? It's because you've got money in your pocket. Ching ching. things like that.
Is that what they call it?
I think so.
Tremendous.
That could just be like banter that floats about, but
That makes sense.
We've asked it would make sense.
I mean, I've learnt a lot of stuff in this 58 and 40 seconds that we've been gone for, but that is the one thing that has amazed me. I was like, that's tremendous. But I was in the toilet last night in Edinburgh, and
Why should I mind? Always why I try each other. It's surprising for if they're functioning addicts in fair play, because you usually don't want to share that. Hear that it's like the tail end of an after party, you don't want to share where you're like, fuck, it's home time when this is gone, this is me, there's a weird one for the bird, and I really haven't liked him tonight, so fuck off for him. But I mind being at the UFC, the Hydro, and honestly went to the bog, cunts were just could not try harder to get you on the ching. I'm working in one, it's alright, so man. And I was just passing ching under the toilets and that. It's just like this kind of, it's not cool, but it's like fair play, kind of like being at a really weird bar. In the cubicles and that stuff getting passed under everything.
It's really nice to see.
Scottish fans, we love it. It just seems to be ingrained in
I was doing
British
it,
folk.
where was it, the pub in the South Quarters it was. Honestly, these bairns, they must have only been about 17, 18.
That's what's
Sitting in the pub,
scary,
there was no tunes on or nothing.
Aye.
What is the point in taking it in that situation?
Talking
I mean, didn't
like
take
business.
Fucking
Aye.
at all, but
Aye.
sitting in the pub with no music on, like you're not even in the nightclub or anything, like
Aye.
fucking hell, that's when you can, like, what the fuck is happening?
Aye.
Especially at the age and that they were at
That's
it.
the thing, it's not exactly cheap neither, kind of.
No.
£100 a gram that's a fucking whack in your pocket when you're 17. Well, like where they're working, what are they doing? That's the
nuts,
thing, a lot of folk just end up selling it too. It's that much a dear habit. If it's a weekly thing for you, or twice a week, even if it's even back getting washed, you then tend to sell it, can you then?
That's a mortgage straight away, yeah, if you're taking a grand a week.
Aye.
That's more than this mortgage.
It's fucking.
That's what I think, a half decent mortgage ending for about £300-500 a month, depending on your house and whatever else, and like your mortgage is like, fuck, it's like, at least you get something back out of house there. It's kind of, it's strange, I can't get to grips with it. Also, I drink about 2 free coffees a day, so maybe I'm a hypocrite. Stimulant nonetheless, it feels very similar. But for me, coffee that buzzes for through the week. Last time I went to the weekend is to be feeling that when I got shit to be getting done.
And I couldn't go through 3 coffees a day, I'd be ruined, man.
Something that doesn't.
Save that for after.
I've never had a buzz out of coffee. I've no.
You've got a good tolerance.
I've not got even I could have a coffee at 8 o'clock at night and still get asleep at 10. Just I could have a night time coffee, no bother.
I'm the complete opposite. Sometimes it sends me near enough panic attack stage. I found out in the past, if I've been at work and I've had maybe say 2 coffees, I feel like, oh, you bastard.
Like, it's a lot of energy to try and contain if you're at a desk or something as well.
I think it's purely just if you listen to Andrew Huberman's podcasts. Fucking brilliant. I think it's mainly to do with like the size of the receptor that takes in the caffeine.
You're like almost a non-responder.
So it's just like I seem to have like a fucking higher tolerance because the receptor's fucking less sensitive or fucking whatever.
So that means it's the same with all caffeine, or just toffee?
All caffeine, Red Bull, fucking no bother. Nah. I could have I drink the fucking sometimes in the morning. Just I have to get the massive cans of Red Bull, the fucking huge cans.
They make me fly.
They didn't make me like. I actually don't feel an effect to it, but I think it's more of a placebo. Like just if I'm on a long drive, if I finish the night shift and I'm driving back.
There's like ginseng and all that, which will give you some sort of stimulant as well.
But nothing at all. Like, and
I think you should probably need something for getting back to it, especially if you're driving bypass stuff like that. You'll be like, drowsy eyed.
You get.
It sends me do. I like
proper
that. Excited.
Fucking very good. He's the ones on sleep terrified me. Absolutely.
And
did you have you read Matthew Walker?
No, I've heard it's a good read.
What is this?
It's fucking terrifying.
Weed was good for your sleep. Sleep amazing on it.
Andrew Huberman's
it's a book, please.
No, it's a podcast. It's a podcast.
I've been working my way through Sapiens for about 6 months. I said I go to read 4 books a year.
What a fucking book as well. It's so good.
I feel like I need to read a bit and then digest it and come back to it because it just puts a whole world into perspective.
I feel like I need to start reading that.
I finished uni and I was using uni as my excuse for not reading all the time because I was reading papers and when I finished I was like, well,
Aye.
So I just made sure that I got sorted out on my books. I leave them lying out and that, but I think there was times I was leaving them lying out for months and they were just lying out. I wasn't even going near them. That's Sapiens when it's like, this is I'll go outside, I'll sit outside, read outside and that in the morning, and then I'm like, right, I've done something good. Just kept my phone in the house. So as soon as I take my phones out there, as I'm replying to messages and that, and I go back to a page of the book and then...
And you forget where you are and you lose fucking words and you end up skipping to the next fucking chapter and I love putting, I was actually doing it today, I'm reading fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now. The book's fucking tremendous. If you like the film, the book is fucking... Well, you need to watch it. I think actually you're better to watch the film first and then read the book, and then when you watch the film again you're like, this makes so much more sense. Because the first time I seen the film I was a wee bit fucking underwhelmed with it, and then I read into the backstory and I was like, right, now I get it. And the book's fucking phenomenal.
The book nails it.
Regardless,
I like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think you need to understand Hunter S. Thompson and maybe even read some of the books first to get a feel, and then when you read the book and you've seen the film you're like, oof, these are the parallels of each other.
I woke up this morning and I put on like a fucking slow jazz fucking thing, like through the house, man. Mate, and read the book for about 2 hours, and see, I was like, right, when I get to like chapter 18 or something, I'll put the nugget on my day. And see, once I put it, the fucking relaxation was unbelievable. I felt so
That's the thing, is a good 90 minutes I might have just been like, shh.
I'm just TikToked after.
Came off, I think with TikToks is 7-second videos, isn't it? So your short-term memory, 7 seconds, that's just enough. And then you say, doesn't it give you the time to transfer it to long-term or mid-term memory and stuff like that? And I think that's why it's so good, it's just like boom, 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 it's just buzz after buzz.
It annoys me how it doesn't automatically go to the next video though when you hit swipe it. So much exercise.
I feel 10 times better after deleting TikTok. I need to get rid of it. It's fucking, it's horrible. It
actually makes me happy.
But that's the thing.
These cunts do all the dances and that, and they're not happy in that.
That's what I think. I enjoyed it when I had it, and then when I got rid of it I realised what damage it was doing.
Like, I actually learn stuff on it too, because I follow these guys.
There's so much better. There's loads of ways to learn stuff though. That is not the most effective way to learn stuff. It's freaking
7 seconds, isn't it?
Because it is every 20 videos is educational, and then the rest of it is complete shit.
I didn't watch Love Island anymore.
As well.
What's that?
You pay for it. It's an advert for that on TikTok.
Aye.
So they give you X amount of videos and then boom.
Aye. But you didn't hate watch it. You just
you can
straight away.
It's like a mandatory ad when you first open it.
It does not taste.
Aye.
Something I've tried done my best not to get on is the TikTok because I know when you're in, you're in.
Aye, as you say, I enjoyed it when I had it, and then it's terrifying that once I deleted it I was like, oh, that wasn't good. That was fucking...
I was talking about that too, one of the first ones out when you delete social media and stuff, is the urge to grab your phone and look for it when it's still there and you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's scary.
There's nothing worse when you jump into bed at night and you came with the fucking phone and you hate to turn the light on. Bastard.
And it was the same with TikTok.
in the kitchen. I just have to get out of my bed to get my alarm, otherwise I just be like,
And it was the same with TikTok when I deleted that as well. I went to pick up my phone and went to click on that, and the space was still there, and I just clicked on the space and I was like, I didn't even think about that there. That's fucking scary.
It's a bad habit.
And that's what it is, just a compulsive habit. It's not even...
I see with Instagram I'll go in to reply to people and stuff like that too, and manage my bookings or whatever, and next time I'm scrolling. And 20 minutes later I'm like, shut my phone, chucked that way, and then I go back, conscious thought resumed, and I'm like, what's going on there? They speak to him or her, whatever, and I'm like, I've not done it.
And it's mental how often that happens. And sometimes I pick up my phone, not even to go on Instagram. I go to Google something and I click and scroll and I'm like, wait, I was waiting to fucking Google something there.
It's scary, yeah. We can laugh about it and stuff in that table, we're being played big time.
I'm just glad I've got I'm not trying to sound big-headed, I've got the self-awareness to realise that I'm doing that, and then some people don't, which is scary.
Aye. It's good though, it's good that sometimes it takes maybe a wee bit to struggle or something, to sometimes be like, right, if you can find what's the antagonist for all that is, it's sometimes it'll work well, the agonist even. But that's I couldn't imagine not having an Instagram at this. See, when I've been on Facebook and that, I had to delete Facebook just because I just kept finding that I was like roped in arguments with people who meant fuck all kind of that. I know even, and if they were in my circle, they were on my circle probably because we knew each other on Facebook, and then that would be the connection is, you thought you knew somebody, And you see like the bigotry and just piss that would come out of people. You're saying that's a roaster.
I think what you're doing on Instagram is really good though, it's very educational. I do like watching it. The last one on the drugs and that was good. How it's rated.
Aye. That was a wee bit fried. That was a good one as well. It was scary.
Alcohol being the top.
I know.
That's understandable.
That's one of the worst times I've ever felt. I went to Marbella with a couple of guys, I know one of them has a house out there, and they boys like a bevy and that, and they like a line. So I've been doing that with them for a few days, and see when I come back, I could not get out of my bed. Like, I've never felt like that. And I lost my bag and that coming back and stuff then. It was just a cascade of shit. But the holiday was amazing. When I was there, I was having a great time. I wasn't enjoying myself. But it was when I come back, for 2 days I was just in my bed. I didn't know what to eat, didn't know how to get out of my bed and that then. It was probably some of the lowest I've felt. But I knew what was causing it. It wasn't like I was bewildered, like, oh fuck, what's causing this? I knew exactly what was causing that and what had promoted it. Whereas any other times I've been at the party and stuff like that, I didn't drink too much or stuff. I feel sound the next day, sleep deprived, probably you stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning or whatever.
And then the sleep you do get is dog shit.
Aye, definitely 100%. But that's one thing I'm worried about is how bad the mental health is as a result of people getting on it every weekend.
I think it must be a massive thing.
Honestly, my anxiety levels a day are through the roof and I was only drinking last night.
Maybe even the after effects of loads of caffeine.
Espresso martinis, bang.
Was it good coffee in them?
It was decent, like. It was fucking better being at £9. Honestly, when it gets to that point of the night, you're just like, fucking bevy innit? Come back here, back on it again, man.
I think that's like, I woke up for no fucking, I woke up, I noticed my anxiety levels a wee bit higher as well. For no real fucking, like I had a wee hang on the day, but it wasn't enough for me to feel as anxious as I did. And then see after like that fucking reading session, I was like, fuck, what a fucking difference, man.
It's almost like meditation. I really like to meditate. See, when I meditate all the time, I help me calm as a person. So like, this morning I woke up and I knew if I was coming to see you boys, I had arranged a PT prior to this. And I know I'm going through Kirkcaldy to be there for 3, then I have to come all the way back through the 460s asked me on, which is like he's like a Cockney guy. He's had to grow with the Scotsman and that on it, and he's sort of getting on loads of different people that advocate cannabis, who are on the medical list and that. So I knew for a fact I had 4 or 5 things on. And then after maybe about 8:30 or something is when I'm going to be free, so I knew I'm going to be around for right, go up 10-15 minutes meditation, just lying, and I could feel anytime I would try and centre my mind, the shown would be away at 6 different things happened. I was like, right, bring it back. It was a horrible meditation section, but just doing it as I went and done it, and it made me aware that I'd.
Do you use like an app or is it like a video or that?
I hate being told.
So the app,
I go for pure silence. So I'm looking for.
Well, they just lie there?
Face east, always face east for the sunrise day. It's like I see them doing it in yoga classes and that, I'm like, fuck it, I'm like, this is old. If they're doing it facing the sunrise, I'll do it, and if there's any magic magnetic pools of the world and that, I'm like, right,
I'll take them. I'll take it and I can fucking get at this point.
As I'm doing it. But I think headspace that's maybe cool. I've never tried it though.
I really enjoy it. It's not something that I'm as strict as I should be. I think it's quite hard to stay consistent.
I feel amazing.
Same.
And see if it's once a week, once a fortnight, as I know I'm doing myself a disservice, not doing it enough, but it keeps it there. Habits there is like.
I need to do all these good practices.
I managed to keep it for like a week sometimes, and then something like I'll sleep in and I'll miss it one day, and then that throws you off the fuck.
Is when I'm consistent with it, as I'm proud of myself doing it, and then it just seems to go, and I'm like, fuck, I'll see my book or something. I'm like, I forgot I was reading.
Have you
8 months later?
Have you ever looked into like the what is it? The Kundalini sort of stuff?
Oh, no, it's just more so the breath work. Have you tried it?
I think it's fucking hard.
Like fire breathing.
And then it's like supposedly you get fucking psychedelic experiences for it.
I've heard loads of people saying similar than that as well. But I've never ever.
I tried it once, and it's the weirdest experience I've actually ever felt. But it sounds fucking stupid when I explain it, but when I was doing it, I realised something when I was doing it, and then I came out of that headspace into my body again, and I completely lost what I realised.
So it was
and I tried to,
process.
and honestly, it could have been that I'd left the oven on. What I realised, that, like, but I realised something, and then I went, oh, I'm doing it, and then I was like, oh fuck, no, go back. It's fucking the weirdest fucking thing I've ever felt in my life.
So that's what obviously psychedelics, and I almost push through that into and they almost force that on you, but the fact you can do it without any of that,
and I'm not saying I was ever close to having a psychedelic experience or anything like that, but it was
breakthrough it's something starting to change.
And I've never really, not that I've tried too much, but I've never actually been able to get fucking back to.
I had that, and it was like a Saturday night I was meditating. They gave us meditation task for a unit. It was meditation, walking, or both. That was your 3 controls. There was no condition. And some folk had to meditate for up to 5 minutes a day, or 5 minutes a day. Some folk had to walk for half an hour a day, ideally in the forest, in the Japanese forest bathing thing. And then some folk had to do both. Most folk didn't do none of it, because it was all folk that you're handed the degree in this country, like just show up and you'll probably still get a paper. Whereas I was all in, I was in my mid-20s and that, I was like, this is fucking quality, this is better than me being stuck on a building site and whatever. This is really rewarding every day I come here, so I was like, I'm going to do this. So that was when I first started to do it. Flatmate had been telling me to do it for 2 years. That's the worst part of that. Shit pal here. I was like, but okay, it was doing wonders for him too. You see it in his impulse control, his behavioural control. If me and him were arguing like that, I'd be on a ramble and he would be like, just walk away, and I'd be like fucking rolling leg lock for coming. You keep walking away. Leg lock you in the hall. But I started doing it with that, and one Saturday night I was doing it. And funny enough, I was well fed and everything too, which should usually be done if you were meditating a wee bit. But I was like you were saying, that disconnection, I used a guided meditation this time, and when that stopped, it didn't like ease out it just stopped abruptly, and as it stopped, I swear I came crashing back right into my body, and I was like, wait, I can't. I hit the beanbag, I was like, didn't I think
it's weird how quick like you do come back, like once you're.
I don't know if I could meditate with it being guided. Like how you meant to do?
Some people only do guided.
Sort of just, I'd wing it as well. It's sort of just sitting silent, and then I try and focus on breath.
What, sit or lie down?
Sometimes I'll reflect on what's actually going on. As if I've been pissed off. Sometimes I'll use it almost like active reflection more than meditation, because there'll be days you do it and you just can't concentrate no matter how much you draw yourself back. Then there'll be other days where it just feels like you can always bring yourself back to that sort of nothingness. But there's never any pure nothingness. That must be where people can feel it.
Or you feel it for maybe 3 seconds, and then I think even at that you're just convincing yourself that you're doing that. But
you can slow down your thoughts, because it's just like that. It's constant. It's just a scrambly line a lot of the time.
It's just basically just sitting realising that you're thinking about something, and then try to take away for yourself for the thing that you're thinking about. So accept that you're thinking about it, and then it's supposed to let it go.
Try and come back to nothingness again, and then boom, it's got to go again.
I've tried mindfulness, that's alright.
That's the same thing.
But like, it's like putting you in a specific scenario, and you need to imagine it.
And am I right in thinking mindfulness tells you, imagine you're a light, imagine you're floating up above the forest,
imagine you're a bird or fucking.
Sometimes they use objects in that too. Like the one it was a reason. Then you were to like touch it, smell it, like embrace this one, because normally you just like fucking shuffle them in and didn't fucking take into account.
See, I'm not that I've actually tried that. I just think like if I've already got things in my life where I can escape and being involved in someone else already. So I don't really. I like the whole like nothingness.
That's a good distraction.
I've got to train or reading or anything like that is taking myself out my body and getting involved in someone else. I think that's quite similar to what that is. I quite like
I'm not for trying the float tanks there.
Fucking unbelievable.
I've done one in Edinburgh. I had an edible for a winter, but I was fucking attached to a beautician's. I could hear them going up and down the stairs. I'm like, paid about 50 quid for this. And all I can hear is some little bink's feet going up and down the stairs. I was like, you dirty bastards. There should not be a peep in there, no matter if folk are coming in on that. Every room should be bulletproof. And and that's
sometimes silence is scary.
I did enjoy it. I just think like it's something that you would again need to practice. Because I wasted the first 20 minutes with just getting used to the whole fucking feel. Because I was like bumping my head out at Liverpool.
Was it?
So I was like bumping my head off
What
the
did you
side,
do?
and I was like, oh fuck.
It's just like a saltwater tank that you're sort of immersed in, sensory deprived for kind of sights, sounds, smells and stuff.
Oh,
And
fuck
because
that.
you're weightless, as you start to be able to relax, drift off as you then go into these lucid states. Likewise, you would do higher levels of meditation and stuff.
It was almost like you.
That sounds
I
petrifying.
ended up like in a sort of light sleep
Aye.
where I was still like aware, but
I was finding it difficult to drift off that. And
Aye.
any time I was getting a good stairs, I would hear the fucking staircase going, which would ruin it. But it was good. I really enjoyed it as an experience. And there's float philosophy. That wasn't who I used, but they've got a custom built isolation unit. I think it's in Falkirk.
Right.
Float philosophy in Falkirk. I might be wrong. But I'd seen like Mark Ewan and that going and
Aye.
using them, and he was kind of hoping to have them on board as a sponsor or something as well. I know a couple of people have bought their own float tanks too.
I think that's the way. I think that's the way to do it. But it sounds like but I think
Go to the sea.
I think for
in
you,
the garage.
I think for you to get like any sort of benefit, I think you do need to practice it.
Aye.
And it's so expensive to be able to practice. Like 50 quid a shot is fucking.
40, 50 quid a pop.
That's like once a month if you're lucky, and even at that.
And you need if you're training a lot of that sports treatments, things like
Aye.
that. Yeah, you could spend all your wages on things like that.
Aye.
I'd love to be in a position where that was possible. But you also got a house in that.
That's it. I'm hoping though, like that becomes more popular, and with more popularity, the price drives down and fucking.
I don't know. It's probably quite easy to build your own if you're a dab hand in that.
Aye,
But
loads of salt.
it's fucking. It's not something like 100 kilo of salt
Aye.
or something ridiculous.
Fuck
But
me.
Epsom salts,
Aye.
aye. But I'm interested.
It'll be worth it the day, in the state you're feeling the day. It'd be fucking ideal, mate.
You go sweat it
Aye.
in the float tank.
A wee sauna and a swim will sort of mute, son.
Aye.
Do you remember at Barney's?
Aye.
Yeah, I'm going to be joining again.
It's good,
Tremendous.
like.
Cancelled it at the start of the pandemic. They're hounding me for money, so I think I'm going to maybe have to re-register under my middle
Aye.
name.
It is good, like.
You're not getting paid. Give me my membership back.
Aye.
Aye.
But it's the best.
Aye, it is the
It's good,
best.
like.
Aye, it is.
Give what the staff and that, they're no bad in that, the staff compared to a lot of leisure facilities.
Aye.
Yeah, they're alright. And the gym's fantastic.
And it's massive. It's no like the whole COVID thing. You didn't notice it too much because it's so fucking big.
There is some machines I miss for 64 in that.
I think 64 very good for physique.
Aye.
Athletes and stuff. They've got loads of good isolation machines in that. Barney's, you can tell it's very much an exerciser's gym.
Aye.
A spa facility in that. But
It reeks of Tory, like, but it's good.
I've had a row in there for swearing and everything and that. I think just I've told the wife to fuck off to this conversation.
It's something you can imagine him
come
doing.
over and she's like, "Can you stop swearing please? There's a sign over there that says no swearing." And he's like, "What the fuck about like?" He's like, "Get yourself to fuck." And there wasn't any sign there. I found a sign in the gym too. I was like, "I'm going to check it," because I was like, "No fucking swearing here, that's mental." Nothing about swearing on it. She was just a miserable old cunt.
Aye. I'm just fucking bad for it.
Aye.
Where was that? I was out for a bit of lunch that Monday after we were out in Edinburgh. To be fair, you shouldn't be swearing. We were sitting eating a bit of lunch,
Better words you could choose, but nothing like says it like fuck.
and the boy came in and was like, "What's your language, son?" I
Hey,
felt like saying, "Fuck are you talking to?" Like,
what the word there?
aye.
What's your language?
Coming out to give us well, what's your language? I felt like a bairn that's been. I
You got that out.
I didn't say sorry. I was just like, bastard. I can't believe you just done that to me.
Yeah.
In front of all your pals as well.
Aye.
I kind of get it, but at the same time as like half these cunts are probably the most racist, narcissistic, misogynistic cunts going on.
Aye.
But God forbid you say fucking cunt.
I just
Aye.
always explain, mate. I'm not smart enough to use any other words. These are the ones. These are the ones that I know. These are my go-tos. I'm not clever enough to fucking come up with new ones. Aye.
That is, aye, exactly. I let my mum and dad listen to this. First thing he says, you need to cut out the swearing. I was like, alright.
That's something they would say
I don't
though.
even know how I'm listening to these at this stage. Like, she makes it clear she loves me, but our views didn't align with something.
The thing is, it's good to, it's a very descriptive words I use. Like, none of them.
Fucking bastard.
Aye, you can, that's full face here.
Aye.
Aye.
But aye, it's tremendous.
Scottish folk are loved worldwide for that. There's
I know.
loose, unfiltered, zero fucks given kind of approach.
Oh, it's full, like, but I think it's tremendous personally.
Aye.
It's not in a bad way, too.
Meme compilations, you'll see Scottish banter and that creeping through all these American meme channels and that. You'll hear the Scottish accent a mile away, you're like, fucking Scotsman.
Very descriptive.
Aye.
I love swimming.
This isn't our first language neither.
tremendous.
There's no free
Exactly,
choice.
nothing choice.
Aye.
We're trying.
It's Gaelic that these are here.
I just put it down to that. Aye, so in terms of where you are now, obviously you're talking about, obviously you've got that Braw Brew coming out, you're working with athletes day in day out. How do you think your mental health is now in comparison to it was the years ago?
See, when I was stuck on the roofs, that's when I would say actually my mental health was probably at its worst. See, on like a Sunday, I'd be watching the clock, it's like 2 o'clock, next thing you look at 6 o'clock, next thing you look it's midnight, next thing you're up at 1 o'clock and you're like, fuck, I'm up for work in 6 hours. Then you were then going out miserable working with people you just really didn't get on with. I fought a few times at the council and that. I cheer and work hours out, scrapping my guns. That's how much I was enjoying it. But then I see comparison now, I get to do what I want. If I wake up late and then I hate to work at 10 o'clock, it's because I stayed in my bed, I wasted my morning in my bed, or not even wasted that. I chose to do that. It's definitely, I would say it's a lot stronger now. But even then, like, with this whole COVID thing and that too, is I noticed for myself, I was grinding my teeth in my sleep. So when I was conscious, awake like this and that, I wasn't really bothered. I knew for a fact when I can't work, because there was systems put in place that gave me money, or I could go and do other jobs like be a roofer or whatever and get 120 quid a shift or whatever, which was it's a good amount of money. I might hate it, but it's still
that's an option.
It's a week's worth of shopping and potentially a bill. But I was noticing I was grinding my teeth like fucking my sleep. I was waking up, I was getting pulsing feelings in my molars and stuff like that. So as much as I didn't think I was overly bothered with the whole pandemic, because my subconscious behaviours were clearly there was some sort of response. But I feel like I've seen a lot of folks struggling out during this, and coming out of this, it was getting tough when gyms were shut. Tesco's was open, Matalan was open, and yet gyms were shut. It was tough. But at the same time, I'm not a legislator and anything like that, and I've been fortunate enough to find a few places to train during it and stuff, and borrow some kit if I couldn't, and take a block leaving and that, which I think helped. But right now, as we come out of this and that, I feel decent as, like I said, as we brushed over my childhood and that, I think that was a perspective what really fucked up is that. And a familiarity with worst case scenario of what could potentially happen in life and stuff, or one of the worst case scenarios. So when it was something like the pandemic, and I like what we were saying as well, we were kind of making a laugh and a joke about it, because you're like, fucking look what's happening in China, shit, next thing we're shut down. But then obviously it did get a wee bit tedious, and it was one thing I found out, it was tough to live in a household of people, no matter how close you were, as that became tough, because you weren't meant to be outside for very long, which we were still going out and getting a good walk in and what like that too, but your other pals maybe want to come up and sneak into the house and stuff like that, and obviously they weren't meant to, as that became quite tough and stuff. But coming out of the pandemic and stuff too, I feel good. I'm not going to say I would say my mental health is bang on the money, because there'll still be times I'll flip my lid, and again, one thing I've found is through what I've been through my childhood is I can be very cold-hearted and shut off to people, or shut people off very quickly, just like that, which is it's not a great behaviour. Like it's handy, you could do that and have that disdain for somebody very fast, but it's not a healthy habit to carry in your life. But I would say mental health feels as good as it could. The one thing I'm trying to get better at is my self-affirmation. See, for competing and stuff like that too, we went through the Black Box Muay Thai and stuff on Sunday. Sword Tax and Muay Thai were there as well, and I'm not competed as much as I would have liked yet. I'm gone there to compete with guys who are fighting on UFC fight pass, and that in my head I'm not good enough. But when I go there and then I use self-affirmations and stuff before we were sparring and that, to sort of tell myself to shut the fuck up, and that lingering self-conscious, that self-doubt was quite strong. So I was using these self-affirmation techniques to let myself know, no, you did deserve to be here, you've been invited here. If you didn't deserve to be here, you wouldn't be invited here. Lo and behold, that was one of the best sparring sessions I've had in recent months and recent years too. But I've also been using microdosing mushrooms and that for that.
I've seen that on Instagram.
I've never sparred like that, like never ever seeing shots coming and how relaxed I've felt and stuff. I think it's maybe that threshold where you're on the threshold to the psilocybin is it seems to be doing really good things for me. But again, I didn't want to have to rely on that as a quote unquote mental health booster. Like I've said, I would like to work with a psychologist, like to speak to someone who I'm compatible with as well, which I think maybe a lot of times is.
So how often do you see a psychologist?
Never yet. No, never yet. So I'm working towards it. I've been saying this for about a year at least. It's coming up. I'm going to do it. I would just. I would like to do face to face with somebody I studied with at uni. One of our lecturers, she was really good. I'm not too sure if she does clinical stuff still or if it's just sport. Because as a competitor, I don't really need it. I've learned enough at uni that I can manage that myself. But again, maybe things for childhood trigger that, like they say, you've been bullied or being familiar with death, that maybe then comes in when you compete as being able to control the fight or flight response. So if you've been through some shit when you're younger than that, the sensations are the same when you go to compete. And you be able to disseminate them as that's childhood events. This is competition for fun, just because you feel arousal.
I think that's what I've always struggled with in terms of like martial arts anyway, is that fight or flight thing, because mine's is flight, mine's is get the fuck away, and that's why I started doing martial arts, because that was so strong. Like
when I had the chance to compete and stuff.
I've competed in kickboxing once or twice, never managed to compete in jiu-jitsu yet.
You find that when you're competing, it's
terrifying.
Very hard to get used to that sensation.
Any sparring that I'd done prior to that, timing was gone. No timing whatsoever.
So everybody can be the king of the gym,
no timing whatsoever, just with pure that I just didn't want to be there. I just didn't want to full stop, didn't want to, and
couldn't just not move.
Like the whole like, and it's weird, and I read John Kavanagh's book, and he was the same, and I was actually glad that I read that, because I felt uncomfortable that I was like, why do I know I can do this, so why do I still want to run away? And John Kavanagh's the same, as like, that never goes away. You're born. Unfortunately, I'm never going to be.
You want to survive.
I'm never going to be a fucking. I'm never going to be a good MMA fighter. I'm just not. Because I just because I don't want to be there. I don't want to fight. I wasn't about to fight, and I think when I know that I've come to terms with that, I enjoy it so much more.
So much better.
Because of no just looking injuries and that, but I feel a lot more comfortable in myself that it's alright, you didn't have to do this if you didn't want to do it.
Because if you love the sport, everybody wants to be the next Khabib or whatever.
And that's it, and you see it and you look up to these folk and you're like, why am I such a shitbag?
He's not a shitbag. But you watch them and they come out how they breathe and that, they're nervous, they're always nervous, they're always big exhale.
Is that Matinho boy, man? I've never seen nothing like it. Is that his name? Green hair?
Aye.
What is in his head to just try and keep coming like that?
I'll never be like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I don't know why I'd be like that. It's fucking.
It's a certain type of person. There's a reason why they're in the UFC.
Exactly.
Not everybody's going to go.
He's a fucking maniac. Absolute fucking maniac.
I don't think anyone didn't die. Even after that.
I think it was a good stoppage, that fight as well. The Matinho fight. It was very fair. Like, I didn't wish him get hit much more.
Nah.
It's entertaining now, but I got to the stage where you're like, right.
I felt that way.
He's got fight of the night. Let's get him out of there.
I thought like Max Holloway, Brian Ortega. I was like, that was hard to watch. That was just. And
Henan Barao, TJ
Henan Barao as well. A couple of Darren Elkin fights as well. He seems to get fucking smashed every time he goes in and still fucking comes out with wins.
After like fucking 1 minute to about 14 minutes of getting leather, then he's going to win. It's good that you like watching UFC and stuff as well.
I only watch it if there's something good on.
Well,
everybody's getting something good.
But you're looking for like a big draw. That's good, that's interesting.
To be fair, I've watched it a couple of times with you, like when it's not been like a headliner.
Sometimes the sleeper cards are the best cards.
I know, and we watched a glory card together as well. Fucking pay-per-view, it was fucking phenomenal.
Is that the kickboxing?
That
was tremendous.
Fucking brilliant. And again, I knew what I was going into, but like for you, I was like, this better be a good card. I'm like a fucking idiot here, but Glory's brilliant. It was Rico Verhoeven was fighting fucking.
So it's one thing you realise how sloppy the striking can be in the UFC and the MMA is when you watch high level kickboxers, you're like,
I know. You see some, even watch some, even see some UFC fighters hitting the bag and that, you're like, that kind of looks a wee bit sloppy. Just it's no
focusing on so much. And then you see somebody like, fuck man, Nicky Holtzkin or something, shit on Badr Hari, stuff like that. Quality,
Tremendous, man.
Better watch your time, mate, that's fucking have to.
So, the last question is always on every podcast, if you could give anybody who's listening a wee bit of advice in relation to mental health, what would it be?
Fuck again.
To be fair, this has been like a full lesson.
Relation, advice with mental health is embrace however much a weirdo you are. If you're an outlier, is embrace it. If you've got lingering doubts and that about yourself and that day, vocalise it with people that you could confide in. Not somebody who would belittle you, but can find the right people that are in your life. And if you feel like people are holding you back or dragging you down your life, friends, family, or whatever, and that is, nobody's going to force you to be around them. Obviously, if you're young and you stay with parents and stuff, you're kind of stuck with that up until maybe the age of 16. But you stay in a country that's got its multiple support networks, and I know we've slandered the NHS and stuff a wee bit in that as well. But in terms of the people around you, if you've got a couple of good people around you, it's like cling on to them for dear life. And open up more. I know this is an introvert saying this and maybe a wee bit hypocritical, but I open up more. I wish I'd opened up a wee bit more when I was younger in that day. Like I said, I had that wee chip on my shoulder, and then it took me have to work with people who had addictions and stuff to really understand it. But I think if I'd vocalised a lot of things earlier, I would have got a lot more perspective on it. But I definitely embrace who you are as a person, even if you feel like an absolute weirdo. There's like many times in my life I felt like a weirdo, and here we are now, I'm 30, and to get invited on things like this and that is, it's a testimony of your character. It was an absolute roaster. I would like to think you were like, he's another one for the joke. But I embraced that. I wish I'd embraced it a wee bit younger.
But you seem to be doing well for yourself. I hope everything goes alright.
I know.
Good to meet you boys.
It's different for watching the Instagram reels, Instagram TV and that all the time. I always check in though, it's class.
I will 100% do this again. 100%.
You said you're on another podcast, I know.
The 460's on, that'll be live on Instagram tonight too. It's 7:30.
What was the other one that you did? What was that?
I done the Fatherless podcast. That was a good laugh. I also done Chris Wright and Ali Goonies when they go the Silly Goose Gang.
Right.
That was quite good as well. It's funny, the guys are they have a lot of military guys in that. Me and I went right down the rabbit hole straight for the get-go. Military propaganda.
So if you want me off, fucking Dean, listen to them as well.
Definitely.
But I'm sure we'll get you back on.
100%, man.
But thanks very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.